Hey everybody, welcome to today's spoiler talk. Today I've got Broly Legs and Goss here, and we're going to be talking about Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings. We all just finished watching the movie. Broly and I saw it together, and Goss got to watch it we pretty much all watched it around the same time, but just different time zone.
Basically.
But yeah, we just got finished watching the movie. We're back home, and we all haven't really discussed too much about it. Just maybe a small glimpse into our reaction. But overall, I want to say that we all kind of we're all in agreement that it was pretty good.
It's fucking good. It's fucking good. I'm just gonna say that right now.
I'm gonna come out.
I'm gonna say it's good. I'm not gonna go as far as Goss, but
I'm gonna say this. When it comes to, okay, maybe I won't say that completely, but I will say, I think out of everything that we've gotten from Phase 4 for Marvel, this is probably one of the best.
I mean, that's kind of like what are you gonna put into it? Are you gonna put the series in it as well?
Yeah, like the TV series, Black Widow, and like all the extra shit that we've been getting.
I guess that's fair. I mean, there's not a lot to go on, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think I'll kick this off. So the way it's gonna work, usually with movies, whenever we go through a movie and talking about it and kind of giving our thoughts on it, we kind of do a quick overview and a small little summary of the plot. And then we go into spoilers. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you can hang out for the beginning of it just to kind of get an idea of what we thought about the movie. But then I'll give the warning that we're going to start talking about everything, and then at that point you can choose to stay or not. But yeah, just a reminder, we do stream this live over at twitch.tv/bash. So we do have some people in the chat right now. We got Kudios and Cloud hanging out. And Kudios actually opened up and said it was great for me personally, especially for an actual start for Phase 4. Yeah, and there's a lot we want to get into about how this movie affects Phase 4 and all that good stuff. But we'll get into that towards the end of the discussion and the spoiler talk. But I'm gonna save Broly for last. I'm gonna kick it off with Goss. So Goss, just a quick overview and kind of give me, maybe point out a favorite part of the movie and just how you felt about it.
Okay, so for me personally, this movie was fantastic. I am a huge fan of martial arts movies, including like the crazy over-the-top like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon ones, anything with Jet Li, like the Jackie Chan films. Like I'm just a overall fan of martial arts films, and this movie not only did it like fused my love for the MCU and my love for martial arts movies in one, and to me that's what really struck home as far as the way the movie was presented to me, because I don't know how you guys feel about this, but the choreography was fucking fantastic.
Oh, for sure. It was especially that one where they're like, on the rafters in that like outside of the big skyscraper. Like that part was so fucking cool.
That whole scene to me, like even the any scene that had any fighting in it was just choreographed so fucking well. It was like it was so fluid. It looked like they were fighting like with fluidity of water almost. Like it was amazing. The without spoiling it too much, because I don't we're gonna do spoiler talk later, but like the bus fight scene was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
The raptor scene was fantastic. My favorite fight scene was definitely the last fight scene between Chang and his dad. Like that fight scene was amazing. But yeah, so the choreography was great. I was so glad that the CGI and special effects were not undercut in this movie either. I kind of was, I don't know why, but I had this very big feeling that the CGI might have lacked in this movie, but it didn't, and it actually over exceeded my expectations when it came to that, which I enjoyed heavily. There's so many good callbacks to like the other films in the MCU. We see characters that you see in the other MCU. Overall, it was just fantastic. The soundtrack was so good. Like, the soundtrack was so good. Like, I remember when that first like hip hop beat like starts in the beginning of the movie, I was like bobbing in my chair. I was like, shit.
Yeah, I
like,
definitely felt the same way. I think the music came in when it should have, and they did a really good job of capturing kind of like that. I don't know, like that kind of just like jive with that comes with martial arts. You know, like sometimes they try to capture that sort of like vibe of like this like urban, like very free form fighting, kind of like I don't know. It's kind of comparative to Cowboy Bebop in a way, where they kind of go for like a jazzy sort of deal. But they also introduce martial arts with that, and you also see it in like the anime Samurai Champloo, where like you have samurais going at it, but we've got this kind of like hip hop stuff going on in the background. So yeah, and so it kind of captures that sort of element of like like more rhythm-based music to help flow along some of the action, and even then, it's just a nice way of setting the tone for like the movie. And so I really like the music for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was definitely a song in there that was like very reminiscent to like the cyberpunk shit that would like the meme where like the vid like it happened again where I was like, oh my god, like here we go. But I mean,
welcome to Night City.
Yeah.
Kudio says choreography was the same guy who did the Matrix fight scenes. He also is one of the top guys from the Jackie stunt team. He unfortunately passed away after this film, but you can tell it was his stuff. Damn, that's crazy. I didn't hear about that. That's crazy.
I didn't know that either, but that only makes it better because it makes more sense now, because I love the choreography in both of those, and basically anything Jackie Chan does, and the choreography in the Matrix is like top tier in my opinion. So yeah, the choreography definitely hella stood out for me, which is exactly what I wanted from this movie. This was the reason why I was excited to see this movie, was because I was like, the way that there was showcased, and the way that all the trailers and everything, it was very like, oh, this is going to be more of a martial arts heavy Marvel film, which we haven't really seen yet, and I was super excited for it, and it definitely delivered on that. So yeah, overall the movie was amazing.
Yeah, I hope we get, like, if we do end up getting some sort of combination of the MCU and like the Marvel TV shows that were like kind of before everything, like Daredevil or something like that. I do hope we get, like, I would love to see this kind of quality of fights and stuff, but with like Daredevil. I think that'd be really cool.
That would be cool too.
And but not to say that the show didn't do well, but the show was awesome. But yeah, I guess for me, my overall thoughts on the movie, without spoiling too much, just basically, yeah, like I thought Shang-Chi, the actor that played him, did an amazing job at capturing his sort of like optimism, but then also internal conflict. There was some solid moments where he, you could tell he was struggling or trying to find the right words to talk to people about stuff. I thought Katie was an amazing addition. She was so funny, and she was so like
Aquafina.
She was great at I got a little worried, and like I said, I don't want to go into too much. I got a little worried. I was thinking that she was gonna be like the collateral damage, like she was gonna be like, you gotta do what I say or I'm gonna hurt her, and that's the reason why she was coming along. But I honestly think the reason, one of the main reasons why she was coming along was because she was like, my Chinese isn't that good, so people should speak English. And I think that maybe might have been the reason why she was around for a lot of like the big heavy plot stuff, because it would make more sense why they're talking English. But yeah, Kate, she was a good mixture of serious and comedic humor. Yeah, I agree. Kudos. And if I were to pick a favorite part, I think I honestly would just like, I think my favorite part of this movie was how good and how unique they treated the rings.
That was sick.
Yeah, I think that the amount of like, when you think of like, oh, you got rings around your arms and you shoot like little pulse waves through them, like that's cool. But no, like the movie goes above and beyond and really got super creative with the rings and using them to maneuver, using them to stop your momentum from falling from a high place, using them to like launch yourself to a further area, walking
I
on
even saw a
them.
scene. Yeah, I was about to say that they used the scene where he like threw him down and like walked on him in the air. I was
Mhm.
like, oh shit.
So I think that was probably like just seeing the rings in action and seeing how, and you know, not that there was like that much going on with the rings for the most part, because the dad had them. I do think that the rings were really interesting, and they like initially I was like, oh, okay, you know, just rings around his wrist, like, yeah, they look kind of strong, cool. But no, after especially with the ending and how they deliver that, I was like, holy shit, that's fucking cool. But if I were to pick something that was like a downside for me, I think I might disagree with you, Goss, when it comes to the CG being like tremendously amazing. Some parts were great for sure, but towards the later half of the movie, for me, there's a big plot piece that the heroes are you know, coming, you know, just they're it's part of like a big action sequence, and it was so blurry. It was very blurry, and it was very chaotic, and a lot of the conflict kind of just was, I'm looking at the screen and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And I think it just has a lot to do with the setting and what was being involved with all that. And I know I'm being like super vague. I'll talk about it more in the spoiler section. But not to say that a lot of the special effects in the movie were great. The rings were great. That one segment where the dragon has the two eyepieces and water like becomes a map. Like that shit was fucking cool. Yeah, that looked badass. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me. I overall I really enjoyed the movie. Characters were great. The action sequences were great. Music was good, and yeah, just a really likable cast of characters. I really enjoyed everybody and their presence on screen. What about you, Brawley?
Pretty much echo what you guys thought. I thought the movie was really good. The action scenes were the high point for me, especially the martial arts parts was really good, and it had to, right? It had to nail all those because of the background of the character, and you know, he's been being trained his whole life, right? I think the characters were really good. The soundtrack was really good. I'm actually one of the few that actually kind of liked every part where the music and stuff. It wasn't overbearing. It wasn't too repetitive. It was pretty good for what it was. I would say my favorite part of the movie, I definitely thought it was probably the bus scene. I thought the bus scene was really good. It got me pretty hyped up with what's going on. You know, the last battle was also really cool, so I really enjoyed that. I will say my downside to this is probably the pacing of the movie. I felt like we had a really strong start, and then it just kind of waned for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I can see that.
Until like the last 20 minutes. So like, you know, and it wasn't like it was bad. Like there was good parts, but I did feel like there was a part of the movie that was just super elongated. Like they could have shaved off 20 minutes of that middle part, and we would have been fine. But overall, I thought the movie was great. I think it's a good introduction. I have no knowledge of Shang-Chi. I had no knowledge of anything about his story, or the characters, and they did their job by making me interested in it, in the character, wanting to see more. So, really liked it. Sure.
Yeah, I think something that I want to add alongside what you were saying and what I said earlier. Pacing, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, and I agree. I do think that there was a certain turning point in the story where they're kind of learning about what exactly the main conflict is going to be about, and that whole process does take a long time. And they set up a lot of we got a lot of flashbacks in this movie. There was a lot of like, let's go remember when you were a kid, let's remember when you were here, and then they toss it in here and there throughout the movie, which also add to the length of the entire storytelling. And so while the action was great, we did get a lot of it up front, and then we kind of had to wait for some like bigger moments later. I think there were some plot elements that kind of slacked for me. One of them, it's not too much of a spoiler. I think I can kind of basically the rings provide tremendous strength, but it's also said that the rings keep somebody like eternally youthful. Like as long as you have them on, you won't age, basically. And so the dad had been around. It's mentioned in the movie that the dad had been around for thousands of years, and that he like conquered and he took what he wanted and all that stuff. And I'm like, to me, I'm wondering, like, did that alter history? You know, like, did that, you know, was he just ruling over the world? And they kind of give some explanation to it. Like, one, they were like, we work in the shadows. And then the second reason was that he was given many different names, so it wasn't just one big conqueror that was like constantly conquering. It was different people to the general public, I guess. But I thought that it's a little weird to incorporate that much history and that much you know, just kind of like overview of the world into this group of people called the Ten Rings. And yeah, I felt like that was probably something that like irked me in the story. And then also just the amount of money that this man should have had after thousands of years of conquering really didn't show for it. Like, it didn't feel like he was, you know, some sort of long-lasting, you know, tyrant or anything like that. And the movie goes into why, and we can talk about that later. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like there was some parts of the story where they kind of just said, all right, we're introducing this movie, and you're just going to have to take it that, yeah, this guy's been alive for this long, and we're not going to fill in the gaps of, like, you know, what Avengers or what people were around whenever he was doing all this, you know? All of that was just a bit weird to me.
Okay. Yeah, I can. I'm trying to figure out, like, I could see that being an issue, but the movie, to me, I mean, well, because you have to understand also that I don't want to, like, we can't get into it without, like, spoiling it, but that does get sort of explained that he did kind of have a hand in, like, what was going, like, he wasn't directly involved, right? But without spoiling too much, he was still involved in some sort of vein of, like, the bad shit that was going around in you know, in the MCU, and it doesn't really show or give how much stake he had, but I mean, he was still out there, like, just doing bad shit. But it's kind of like, you know, they can't showcase every single time this dude has done something or, like, terrorized some people or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, I understand the gripe, because I can kind of see how I wish there was a little bit more storytelling on his part, because I'll tell you right now, the guy who played Shang-Chi's dad, his story was so sick. Like, the story building as a villain was so great, and I wish there was a little bit more of the origins of, like, yo, what did this guy do with the rings all this time? Because they really didn't give too much. And then there's that scene where you find out that, like, okay, he kind of was a part of, like, a certain thing that happened in the the MCU,
Uh-huh.
but just not too much. But I don't feel like it dampered too much on the experience of the movie. It was kind of just like oh, I wish it was just a little bit more. Okay, moving
I
on.
think what it
Like,
is that you can't like think of these movies as like their individual comic series, right? You can't really be thinking about, oh, well, what was Iron Man doing or what was Nick Fury doing. Like, this is their story, and some events will be shared in a collected, sense. But you can't they can't really like have every single thing down for every character depending on the time and stuff like that.
No, I agree with that, but there's like I'm treating it as if the movie is gonna present this character as a tyrant, sort of overlord guy that's been around for thousands of years, but then there's the plot points surrounding the mother, and people infiltrating this guy who should have mountains of money and everything in the world. Like, it's just, that's where I'm like, okay, you know what, that doesn't really make sense. And
we should go to the spoilers to talk about all that.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, because yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just to wrap up the overview and just kind of like the simple stuff. For me, I enjoyed the movie. I definitely think I would watch this again. I really am looking forward to seeing more of these characters in the future for the MCU, and I recommend it. Well, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely would watch this movie again. Like I said, the choreography in this movie blew me away, and I'm such a sucker and a fan for martial arts stuff, so this definitely takes the cake for me, and it's definitely a movie I would watch again and definitely recommend. And I would recommend this to people that are they're kind of not really big fans on like convoluted stories, or like stories that are like connecting, or oh, you have to kind of watch these 3 movies first to understand what like is going on in this movie. If you just want to enjoy like a superhero movie that's really fucking good and has amazing choreography and amazing actors and just an overall really great story, this is definitely a movie you should watch for sure.
We're not giving ratings, right? We're just talking about it.
Would you recommend it, and how you feel about it?
As a Marvel fan, I would recommend. I think there's a lot of good that comes out of this. The scenes are really great. The settings are really great. Soundtrack, the choreography, the characters are all great. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's fun to watch. I definitely would probably watch it again. Definitely get it, when it comes out on Blu-ray, 4K, whatever. Right? Definitely a pickup that I would definitely get for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for the first half of the video. If you guys made it to this point, we are going to be going into spoiler section stuff. Just letting you know that if you're gonna stop watching here or whatever, there are 2 post-credit scenes, so definitely stick around for both of them. But yeah, thanks for watching up to here, and now we are gonna go into the spoiler stuff. Okay. Does anybody have Does anybody have a point in the movie you want to talk about, so we can like kind of go from there and talk about whatever, or do you want me just to kick it off?
I mean,
dealer's choice.
You get introduced to Shang-Chi. His name's Sean, and you basically see how his day starts his job. His job is a valet parker, and he has a friend named Katie, who also works with him as a valet. And they get into a car, and they basically show off how like they're kind of goofy. Well, at least she is, right? We don't really get much about his like needs and wants or his aspirations or anything like that. You get more of the friend, and you go to her house and you go to see her family, and her family's kind of like, when are you going to quit that stupid job and get a better job? And she's just like, I don't care, whatever. At least I'm doing something. Whatever, she's doing the bare minimum. And that's what you're supposed to gather from that character, from Katie, is that she's okay with doing the bare minimum because it at least gives her some sense of purpose, right? She's not trying to be the best of something. She's just trying to be good at whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
And so she does all the partying with Sean, and then you get into the bus scene. And the bus scene is probably where we all probably want to start, because the bus scene is where everything kind of kicks off. And to be honest, we're kind of like in the point of view as of Katie, because we see Sean and he's in the bus and he's kind of living his day and going to the karaoke with her, and he's Chinese and speaks Chinese and was interacting with her family and stuff. And then we get to the bus scene, and then this guy's just like, "Hey, give me your pendant." And he's just like, he understands what he's saying because the guy's talking to him in Chinese, and he's like, "No, what are you talking about? I'm not gonna give you this thing." And they start fighting, and he just starts busting out moves, right?
Yeah.
And we're kind of like in the point of view of Katie, or the perspective of Katie, we're like, "Whoa, like this guy is actually a badass," right?
Yeah, I want to say they did a really good job, and the actor as well. They did a really good job at making us believe that he was just like some Joe Schmo random guy.
Right.
The whole beginning was very just simple-minded fun. The karaoke scene, them staying up all night and stuff like that. Like it just felt like a random guy, like a random friend, that you worked with or whatever. So it was a really cool transition to go from his life and what he's been treating it to that bus scene.
Yeah, I love that we kind of got to find out with I love when you find out with the movie that the main character has this sort of like double life type of deal, because it leaves like instead of knowing that like in the beginning, like instead of showing in the beginning of the movie like, oh yeah, he's fucking he did all this shit when he was a kid, his fucking dad's fucking tyrant, blah blah blah. Like instead of automatically showing that, it's just like we have no idea who this fucking dude is. He seems like a regular fucking guy who's going about his regular everyday life, whatever. And then everybody gets to find out at the exact same time that this dude is actually like, oh shit, there's something way more like beneath what we know about this dude. And I like that because if you already know who this dude is and what he does it doesn't leave that what's the word I'm looking for, this like shroud of mystery around the character, because you already know who this character is. So when you see him portray his like normal everyday life, you're already like, oh, that's bullshit, this dude is like a fucking martial arts god, like it's all facade. We understand that he's living like a double life, but the fact that they like unleashed that at the same time as the rest of the movie, so the characters in the movie are finding out about him as we are at the same time, it really, really leaves a bigger impact on the scene, and I love that shit so much.
Good. Yeah. And so we get introduced to one of the side, I guess, bosses, side villains, named Razor Fist. He has this I guess like a prosthetic arm that's a knife.
Cost Delgado.
Yeah. And he just starts trying to attack him, and while he's doing this, he I guess takes out the brakes of the bus, so the bus is kind of, it's like another speed movie where the bus can't stop. So Katie gets in the driver's seat, and the fight sequences are really cool. It gave me a lot of vibes of like old school like Final Fight kind of things, like when you're in the subway or the train.
I love that freaking side camera.
I was about to say, where it showed like through the windows, you saw him like fighting all the people. Dude, that shit was so.
Dude, there's a DLC campaign map in Arkham City where you play as Nightwing, and it has that same exact like camera angle where it's you're fighting the goons. And it's from the side of the train that you're on, and I instantly thought of that, and I was like, damn, that's so cool. But yeah, like it just shows how good the choreography was, because if it was Jackie's team like helping with this, you saw the thing that I love about Jackie Chan movies is that there's a lot of like using your entire momentum as with your body in your attacks, and then also using the environment. And we saw a lot of that. We saw like him swinging between the bars. He went through the window. He went like around and then up over the bus. And then he like hung onto the door, like the like window. I mean the rearview mirror thing to like grab onto the door. Like it was very all of that. Wherever you're using your momentum and using your body to fit into places and kick from like a spinning, using the pole to spin around it and kick somebody. So good. Like that's what we love to see with these action sequences whenever it's just people fighting. And I do have to say though, the dude with the knife on hand, that guy should have died like fucking 5 times in this movie.
Yeah, he stuck around for a while.
He stuck around for a bit. Especially in the last part where he was fighting the sister and she literally like had his neck to the dagger, and I'm like, she just said earlier to Shang-Chi like, oh, did America make you soft? Like she should have just sliced that motherfucker, but like for some reason she's just entangling him with this ranged weapon that he has no way to keep up with, and then he like lives throughout all of it. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, and
my favorite character.
Yeah,
he was
okay.
He was, but he wasn't anything special to me.
I didn't like him. I honestly didn't like him too much until the ending. Like when he has that one scene where he sees like the soul getting sucked out, and
he's like, okay, we'll work together.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Kudios pointed out one good part what in the bus scene where he used the jacket to like grab the guy's arms and then he put it back on. Within the same motion. That shit was so fluid and so cool.
That's very. I like that too. I wanted to point that out. That's very homage to old Jackie Chan shit. That's the type.
I think he does that in Rush Hour. He makes someone throw a gun away or something.
Yeah, that's 100% like Jackie Chan influence shit. Like when he does shit like that, when he uses like every single thing that he could possibly get his hands on as like a weapon or as a way to like move in and out of somebody while they're fighting, just being able to use like everything and anything that's at your disposal in like your general area while you're fighting is top-notch martial arts movie shit. It's so good.
Right. So they do all that. So now unfortunately for him, they were successful in taking the pendant. And so he knows the other half of the pendant, or the other pendant, is on his sister, and he received a postcard with the address to Macau, which is, I guess, a place in China, or where his sister is currently living at. So him and Katie ended up going with them. Says, you need to tell me everything. We're gonna go. You can tell me on the plane, right? And so we get the kind of like a small past reveal of Shang-Chi. His name's not Sean, it's actually Shang.
The part where
really?
Like,
the title?
Yeah.
The title of the movie.
That shit was so funny when she's like, "Your name is Sean, and your real name is Shang." Like,
like he didn't try to hide himself, which it was a really fun poking at it. Like, oh, you're trying to hide from your father, but you didn't really do a good job. So they end up going into this underground like fight club area, which I thought was really cool. Like they did a lot of showing a lot of fights. The guy that's escorting them was pretty funny. Was kind of breaking it down for him. And here we get to see Abomination. Who, if people don't know who Abomination is like the main rival of Hulk. And he basically became the Hulk, and it was voiced by the same guy that did the Abomination in the first movie, or in the Edward Norton movie.
And Wong actually calls him by his name, which was cool.
Well, you just kind of
he says like a meal.
I was gonna say, and we get to see Wong in this movie.
Yeah.
And he was actually for some reason fighting him. You get to see like the portal opening, and he kind of like, tells him, oh, you think you can punch good, watch this, and then basically like opens the portal and has like Abomination punching himself, and that's how Wong wins the fight. And for some reason they go together. I don't know where they go, but they basically go through the portal together, and it was just weird. I'm not gonna lie, this part kind of disappointed because the movie made it seem like they showed this in every trailer, Abomination was gonna show up, and he was literally there for like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he left.
I think it was because I think in the Doctor Strange movie, Wong's always saying like he doesn't really have money, so I think maybe he was doing it for money.
Well, I was talking about Abomination. I was just upset.
Yeah, I'm trying to justify
him.
like why they're like there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was thinking about that. I was like, maybe he's there because they don't have money, and I guess, but it's not like he's left with money either. So I don't know about that. But you know, whatever. It's good to see Wong. Wong is fun, and he's a cool side character, and he's always so serious. He always has that deep voice and super serious, but he does have this comedic side to him, so it's pretty cool. And
do you think Marvel purposely showed us the What If episode the same week that Shang-Chi came out?
I was thinking about that. You know, I was honestly thinking about like when it was happening, and obviously when we get to the end, we'll talk about this too. But
like it seems that they did it. I don't know. It seems like they did it on purpose, dude. Like it seems
I'm trying to think
a little purpose.
What I'm trying to think about is like, so the end of Loki happened when Black Widow came out, right? So I kind of was like trying to piece that together, but there's no real connection either. So I don't know. It could, but I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm not talking about like a connection. I just mean as in like it's kind of like it sets us up. Like we get to see Wong in you know, in the newest What If episode, and then we got to see Wong in this movie. So it's kind of like it does it. I'm not talking
honestly. I just feel like everything is leading up to fucking Spider-Man, man. Like everything, like we get bits and pieces that are just like this might be part of Spider-Man. This might be part of Spider-Man. Same thing with.
He does have hair. He does have.
Yeah, he has hair, so it's like
have hair in this. So yeah, it's definitely. So what I was asking Vash was, do we think Wong is packing up his bags, going through the portal to do this fight? Or is this something else? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's packing up for something else.
Okay. And so just to finish off this scene, they're telling Shang that you gotta fight. I don't know where your sister is, but you gotta do this fight. You signed the contract, which he didn't know, but he did sign the contract. Yeah. And so he ends up fighting this girl, and it ends up being his sister. And they actually have a one-on-one fight, and the one-on-one fight was actually really good. It was,
for someone not punching, like it was really like well done.
He's not trying to hit her. He's not trying to hit her. He's trying to tell her like, hey, I'm trying here to help you. Stop. But she kind of has all this pent-up anger because he kind of like abandoned her when she was young, and so she kind of thinks about it. Was gonna walk away. She's like, nah, and then like turns around and knocks him out with a kick. And what do you think about this, Bash?
I mean, all the whole sequence of the club and her being like the main leader of this club and stuff like that. At first, initially, I'm just like, how is this all happening? And what's the dad been doing while they're growing up? And we get the answer later. He says that he gave them 10 years and that he always knew where they were, and it was you know, a little bit of like just kind of okay. Like I don't know why he would let that happen, but whatever. But I think one of the best fight scenes in the whole movie happened in this segment, and it's that the assassin that trained him as a kid, they have a 1v1 fight while they were trying to escape from the rafters, and I thought it was really well done. Huh?
Because you got to mention that they took the girls' pendant, because they're going after the girls' pendant as well.
Well, we're in spoiler talk. We're able to hit every like story point.
Well, I think it's important that why they show up.
Yeah, but so basically, his pendant got stolen on the bus, and he got a postcard from his sister saying like, "Here's my address," and then she ends up saying, "I didn't send you this," which ends up meaning that it was a trap to get him to lead everybody to her. And so because they're trying to steal her pendant that the mom gave both of them.
But that doesn't make sense either, because if they're the ones that wrote the postcard with the address, then why would they need him?
They probably just want her to, like, because if they had the address, they could go there, but then she'll just make her escape. But if she's like preoccupied with her brother,
that makes sense.
But yeah, Kudio says here that was my favorite fight scene in the movie: assassin person trainer versus Shang. Yeah, I thought it was really good. The lighting was really really it amplified the intensity of the fight. The knife movements between the two, and
that shit was so sick.
like if people
Oh
pop
my
off
God.
about the Captain America Bucky fight where he flips the knife once, like they're gonna cream their pants watching this fight where they fucking alternate knives like 50 times while fucking punching each other and shit.
Yeah, the cinematography for that one scene too, when they're fighting each other, and it's like the backdrop is like a big open window with just like
the
like
neon
it looks like
lights.
the LED screen in the back, and you just see them fight. They're basically just shadows, and they're like fighting each other. That shit was so dope.
Yeah, that was
It was
probably
so
one of
dope.
the best fight of the movie, and it wasn't like super long, but it was really really cool, and it ended up being that Shang-Chi actually won that fight, but then his dad shows up and blasts the knife out of his hand. But yeah, so I guess I wanna jump over to the plot point that I mentioned earlier, and the thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So, like I mentioned, the dad had been alive for thousands of years. He has the 10 rings, and he's basically legends were told of him being like a god on the battlefield or whatever. And so like this guy who is all superpower, like he doesn't have the rings anymore, like he doesn't have them on, and he gives the reason like, oh, they must have heard I'm not wearing them anymore, and then they pulled that stunt of showing up and killing my wife. And it's like, okay, but you aren't like what you don't have security, you don't have like some sort of method of keeping people away, you don't have like a secluded area to hide your family away and just live peacefully or something, like there was just so many things.
I don't think it was that. I think it's because they said someone has to pay. It's not like they were like, oh, he's away from here, let's now go attack his family. They were there on the intent of fighting him. But
the thing is, there was nothing stopping them from just literally walking in the front door. Like that's where I was like, what?
So I can tell you that like my assumption from that was when he met, because he tells the story, right? Like the moment that he met Shang-Chi's mom, and when he was born, he took the rings off because he decided that, you know what, like I finally found something that is worth more to me than power, than being like a tyrant, than being whatever.
So he probably went back to square one, is what we're saying.
So what I think is he took off his rings, put them in the box that he had them in, and I think he did relocate. I think that he decided to leave the quote unquote life of underground thuggery, fucking big criminal type thing, and just completely dissolved everything. Just up and left, kind of went, just ghosted everybody. Didn't tell anybody where he moved to. I mean, you saw him like when he was like, it's not like in that scene where they show up and like everything happens and you see him walking up to their home or whatever. It looked like he was carrying groceries. And he had like a bucket. Like
it was literally the beginning of the Mortal Kombat movie with fucking Scorpion.
Yes, like it looked like he relocated his family to the fucking boonies. Like he didn't have a fucking plane anymore.
I wouldn't say boonies. He had a fucking it was like a temple they were living in.
I mean, regardless if it's a temple or not, like a temple can be in the fucking mountains, bro. A temple can be fucking miles and miles away from civilization.
I just think after living thousands of years, you're bound to have a higher intellect than just like, I'm gonna leave that life behind and I will have no enemies. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't add up. You can give me a reason. I just don't think it's a good enough one. Like, I understand that she didn't have her powers anymore because she left the village, and that's why she was defenseless against them, kind of. She still could fight, but just not that many people.
I know, it looked like she bodied all those fools.
I didn't even see any, like, that was weird. She was on the ground, and the kid was crying over her, but there was, like, nobody around them. So, it was just, like, they showed up and killed her and then left, or something. I don't know. I just didn't like that whole part of the movie. It just didn't really it didn't really portray itself well enough for me to be like, oh man, like they got her. You know, I don't know. It just it didn't hit the mark for me.
Well, look, to me, I mean, are we ready? Are we ready for this? Are we ready for the take? Or not yet?
Here we go.
Are we ready for
Here
the
we go.
Are we ready for the take?
I gotta get
Okay.
ready for the.
Alright,
You
the
gotta be
reason
ready.
why, this is the reason why. Vaz is gonna roll his eyes, now you can tell, and it's not because of what he thinks, not because of something. This villain sucks. Okay, this guy you're basically telling me that this is the Mandarin, he has the 10 rings.
My God.
Hold on, he has the 10 rings, right? And and you're gonna tell me that this guy walks up to a village and says, I'm gonna take down this village, or I want entry into this village by force. And the girl that's protecting the place falls in love with him, gives him 2 children, and he's just like, yeah, that's it. Let me just wipe my hands. And I'm like, all right, cool. We can have a family. And now you want me to feel bad because his wife dies? Now, like the reason why I have a problem is mainly like, okay, what did he do? Other than like, yeah, thousands of years ago he took over and stuff like that. But show me something that he kind of like did. Like these kids hated him, but they hated him why? Because they like turned his back on him, like or like he cared about the ring more than they did. But then you got Shang-Chi at the end, like, oh, I'm gonna kill him, and I'm like, bro, like chill. And even if you wanted to kill him, right? Like he didn't even act that way toward the end. Is what I'm saying. I know I'm jumping around. I'm skipping around. I'm not gonna go too far.
Yeah, you're jumping around.
I'm jumping around. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, they did a poor job. It's not the actor's fault. I thought the actor was amazing. I love this guy. He did really good.
I thought the guy who played the dad was really good.
He was really, really good. The writing for him sucked.
Especially the scene where they're playing at the poker table, and the kid points him out. Like those are the people that were there that night, and he just starts fucking them all up. That shit was good.
Yeah. That scene was good. But like my issue is like it's a couple of things, right? The writing on this is kind of like I kind of like favor into what you were saying earlier, Baz. We're kind of expected to know.
Yeah.
We didn't get any deep dive on these rings.
Yeah.
We didn't get a deep dive on this character. We're just
the post credits scene kind of makes us understand why we don't have a lot of information.
I get that. But what I'm saying is like these rings, yeah, they were cool. They do these pulse things, and they kind of have this magnetism about them where they kind of go back into the arm of the holder and stuff like that. But they just do a real poor job of explaining what they do. When I was watching the trailers, my thought process, again, this is me with no knowledge of the character, the comics, or anything. So a part of this is my fault, right? But like as a moviegoer, to go watch this for the first time, I was like, oh, these rings are cool. They probably hold elemental powers. And so when I watched the trailer and that water thing, I was like, wait, that's not because of the rings. That's because of the dragon, right? And then like they didn't do anything like crazy. They just did spiritual. Like sure, the fights were cool, and them doing the jumping around was pretty cool. Yeah. But then it's like, why did half the rings go to him, right? They don't explain anything. Like, are they not his dad's? Like, doesn't his dad control the rings? You know what I mean? Like, we're just supposed to believe what is happening, and we're just kind of like, yeah, okay, the son is good, and the rings are going to someone good. But if you're gonna tell me that the dad was evil this whole time, and he's using the rings, then the rings shouldn't matter on whether the guy's bad or good. You know what I mean? So like that was my issue. Is like it's a little bit of like I don't really like I cared about the dad, I cared about the family, but I felt like the characters writing, not just him but also Shang toward the end, and other characters like the mom and stuff, they just weren't done right. Like the action was great, the music was great, looking at the movie was great, but like I didn't really care about the dialogue. You know what I mean? I just kind of was like this is cool, but the reasons are really bad. Like you wanted to kill him, but then when he was fighting him, he's like, you turn your back on your family needs you. Like, which one is it, bro? Like, is it you want to kill him, or do you want him to come back? You know? That was my issue with the whole movie, and their problem with like making me care, if that makes sense. That's my thing.
So there's a couple things. So it's the reason why they did that is just to show the juxtaposition of how he was feeling at that time. You have to also understand that Shang-Chi is like finally coming to terms with his old life that he just wanted to forget, right? Like this is not something that, like, you know, he lives a second life all the time, and you know, he's been worried about his dad. Like he ran away from his family and wanted to completely forget about them. And not now that all of this stuff is starting to resurface, he's had to come to face to all of the feelings and emotions that he's had about his dad and his family, and he's had to come to terms with them. Understanding that the kind of childhood that he had up until he was 14, becoming like just forced to becoming an assassin. You know, basically his father ripped away his choice of what he wanted to become and who he wanted to be.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that the 10 years where he was away from all that, I'm surprised it wasn't like I said in the beginning of the movie, they made it really, they did a really good job at portraying the guy as just a casual, just, you know, random person working a job. And so I'm surprised there wasn't a little bit more mental anguish with fucking, you literally have a kid who is, you know, I think 6 or something, or 7, and trained for years and days on end to fucking become this killing machine, and then like he's having karaoke nights, you know, like it's kind of wild.
Yeah, because I mean, well, it really, like I said, it really goes to show how much of that life he wanted to forget. Like, instead of, you know, him finally, or like him dealing with his past, he ran from it. You know what I mean? The past can hurt. You know what I mean? Like,
but just think of it. Just think of the first story that his friend, that Katie said. Like, when we met, there was a guy that was bullying him, and that was like standing over him, was twice his size. And he was about to throw the first punch, and I got in the way and started singing, you know, Hotel California, which is funny. But think about that. It's like, dude, this guy's a fucking trained killer. Like, no one's gonna touch him at some random school. You know what I mean? So, like, it just doesn't, like...
Kudio said that Katie saved the bully's life.
Yeah, but how would you have everybody to know that? Like, I understand that you're like, yeah, this dude's a trained killer, nobody's gonna fucking touch him. But like, do you want everybody to know that about him? Like, he's trying to run away from his life. He doesn't want that to be a part of his life anymore. So
okay,
him,
dude, but
like,
look at
Tobey
Maguire, dude. Like, Tobey Maguire, the first fight, he fucking destroyed Flash, bro.
Isn't that something that happens in Invincible? Doesn't Invincible like take a hit from the bully? Like he's like,
yeah, he gets punched in the nuts, and then the guy breaks his arm for doing it, or a hand. But like I don't know, like I guess, like, at the end of the day, before we go back into more details about the story, I just think that the reasons for these characters are really bad. I thought, like, I kind of cared for the sisters' reasons. I kind of understood. They played the fact that, oh, she's a woman, she didn't get to practice with the men, and nobody cared for her. Her dad didn't care for her, and you could tell, like, throughout the movie, the dad never really talked to the daughter at all. Like, he was just like, whatever, right?
Yeah, I think her dialogue and her story was really good. Like, they did a good job really at, and especially with how she ends up, and where we end up seeing her at the end of the movie. It's really fitting and really, really cool to see where she's gonna go from here.
Right, but I just think, like, I think Shang kind of like I wish I would have seen more of, like, the distortion. Like, maybe he cared for his dad, but maybe he didn't. Maybe he missed his mom, and maybe he had revenge. Like, I wanted to see a struggle, and I just didn't see it from him. He didn't really get, like, he didn't get that much. I don't know, man. It's
well,
so weird.
I don't know. That's kind of hard to say, because you're kind of contradicting yourself a little bit, because you're saying, oh, I want to see a struggle, and I didn't get it. But then you're saying, why did he say I want revenge, but then also say your family needs you? Like, that's a struggle.
Well, but I'm saying, like, him, like, kind of like holding his head and be like, no, like, that's not what I mean, like, that's not what I want, and this and that, or something. He didn't. It's just, he's contradicting himself, and I wanted to see him do that, but in a more, like, expressive way than just lying, basically. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted him to kind of have that moment.
But I disagree with you, because I feel like I feel like he wasn't lying. I feel like you have to you also
Yeah, when
have
you
to
say something
understand
in the
that
moment is different from whenever you're actually
Okay.
there.
Yeah,
Think of it
like,
this way, think of
like
it
you
this
have to
way.
understand. Look, you have to understand that scene where he's like, "I'm gonna kill my father," right? Like he had just finished going through a whole bunch of bullshit. His dad is straight up trying to fucking kill him and his family and burn his whole fucking mom's village to the ground.
No, the reason why I
Now-
have a problem with it, the reason why I have a problem with the Gus is because he said that after he talked to his aunt, and his aunt told him stop hiding, like stop pretending something you're not, like find who you are, and you know whatever, right? And so when she said that, then he says I'm gonna kill him, meaning like he's kind of like done hiding. Like he tells Katie like, oh, you know, my father. We don't even know what if he did the hit or not, right?
So look, so I okay, I understand that, but you're what you're not understanding is you're not like I feel like you're not putting yourself. If you're gonna like judge a character based on writing and you want to figure out why this character doesn't or does have this emotion, you also have to put yourself in the character's shoes, right? So this character was just told. This character has no idea how to become the person that he's supposed to become, right? This is all brand new to him. So you have to understand that all these emotions and all these things that he's feeling at that exact same time, some of the shit is gonna sound ridiculous. Like him saying like, I'm gonna kill my dad. Like, yeah, that's a little bit extreme, but like, look at all the shit that his dad has been doing
Yeah,
this
I
entire fucking
wouldn't say
time.
that it's new to him. I will say this. Remember when he was fighting his teacher, right? And he has that moment where he's gonna stab him, and he thinks back on all the shit that the teacher did to him. What did he do? What did he try to do? He tried to kill him, right?
Okay.
Until his dad saved him. So that's
But-
where a moment where
well-
I'm like, okay, I get a glimpse of what his motivation is, right?
What,
Like,
what about the thing is, I think the element that you're leaving out, and I think you're treating it like this is a comic book that's a one shot, and Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 1 had the conviction that if I have MJ as my girlfriend, then I'm gonna be happy.
uh-huh.
And that's the thought process he has. But then when he gets the girl, then he's like, oh, I can't pay for this. I can't buy her flowers. I can't, attend her show. I have to be Spider-Man and this and that. And so the second movie provides more character development for this character. And so
Yeah.
to have this moment in the first movie of Shang-Chi where you're saying that, after he spoke to his aunt, he had a definitive, like, oh no, I'm gonna kill my dad. Like I found my answer. Like he's still a character that's gonna be developed for movies moving on from here. So I think like that's an element that you need to consider as well. Where he said that in that moment that night when he's talking to Katie, but when he moves on and he's actually presented with that situation, Kudios kind of says it. Here he says he just wants his family to be together again, but he has to come to terms with that his family's broken, and so he had that mentality going into it where he wants to kill his dad or whatever. But then actually in the fight we also get a little bit more dialogue in favor of Shang-Chi where he's saying like, look at you, like even if mom is behind that, like would she even want you? Like, and he's kind of getting to his dad in a way where that opens a new avenue of like emotion, I guess. You know what I mean? So it's like stepping stones of interacting with somebody and seeing how dialogue unfolds, and that way I don't know. I don't agree completely with with how you feel about it. I can see why it's a little wishy-washy, but I can also see that it's just human nature. It's people say things out of spite. People, I can wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what? Fuck women. I don't want to. They've done nothing but burn me. But then I see a hottie down the street and I'm like, wait a second.
That's just the way. Exactly. That's just
I get it.
That's actually perfectly. That's actual perfect human emotion to go through something like that. Like to go through having an extreme emotion at one point, and then when, like Vash said, when you're presented with the conviction that you had prior. Right, like maybe you have to also understand that, like, at the same time, this is one thing. I know you're saying that, like, you didn't like the way Shang-Chi and his dad were written. I disagree. I think they were written extremely well, and I think that the character progression for both of these characters were done extremely well because You go through Shang-Chi being at one end of the spectrum to the complete opposite end, just based off of experiences that he's had, from the point where he said, I'm going to kill my dad, to the point where he's presented with the opportunity to kill his dad.
Okay.
Answer
this. Okay.
Answer it.
Can Shang-Chi kill someone?
Yeah, because he fucking yeeted someone out of that. What was it? I don't, no, it wasn't the bus. What was it? Maybe it was.
Oh,
the
it's
bus.
the rafters. It was the rafters.
Yeah, it was when it was when we were they were leaving the compound in that dude's car, and they used the fingerprint to like open the gate, and then after they left, they fucking just threw him out, and it was like his fucking body rolled like 50 times. I was like, God damn, that guy's fucked.
Cause like, what I mean is that like I would have loved it if he was someone that struggled with that concept. Like if you would have saw his teacher, fought him, had him down, like he won the fight, right? And didn't go for the stab. Like let's say he was like, nah, not like I'm gonna let him go, and then fell for some trap or whatever. I would have felt more happy with that because you could tell that there's a struggle with him on who he wants to be. Is he a killer or is he not a killer, right? I think that's where it comes from. Like, I know we get the beginning and when he's like the Joe Schmo and he's forgotten it all and he's trying to live his life. He doesn't want to live that. But I felt like that part of the movie was just like, it came and went. Like, I know but I don't. Saying, like, I don't want to fight. I don't want to do this. I don't, he kind of says it here and there. But he's always, like, it had so many flashbacks of him training and him being the killer or becoming this killer that his dad wanted him to be. So I kind of understood that. I think for me, I just wanted it a little bit more to like kind of make it whole.
I don't know. This is a Broly take. I fucking can't, dude. Like literally, there's moments in the movie where he's like, I would have done anything for my dad. Like I wanted to be everything for it. So that's the struggle.
His mom. Yeah, there's moments where his mom literally tells him, or like he has like a flashback of his mom telling him, like, you have a part of me and a part of your dad inside of you forever, which is a metaphor for good and evil. They literally explain that he's going through the emotion of having to struggle with being a good person or a bad person or making those judgments when the time comes. Like, that's what I don't agree with, because you're saying that there's no, like, the writing is bad because you don't know, like, that you wish that he had more struggle.
The dad's writing is bad. I think I can see your point.
But how? But how would you say that?
I can like lightly agree with Broly with like like I said, the plot points around the dad's history in the world, and then also with the whole mom and like their coming together and stuff. Like it definitely wasn't like for how much time the movie spends in Act 2.
His dad's not evil. His dad is just misguided as fuck. But he's not evil.
I mean, he's kind of evil.
But that's still like when you have a character that's quote unquote misguided, that is usually just like a cleaner way of saying, okay, that's the bad guy. Like that's just the way it is. Like it's like we just watched Marvel's What If, right? And the other Doctor Strange is a misguided Doctor Strange, right? But it's definitely the bad version. Like
Kudio says, the dad still killed a bunch of people.
Exactly. Like what the fuck? Like I don't like.
The thousands of years that he was conquering people.
Yeah, he conquers. Fine, he conquers, right?
Okay, that's murder.
Like,
you're literally taking life.
No. Okay, wait.
Hold that. Man, you already said your piece.
Hold that point.
I want to talk about.
Hold that point. Hold that point. So he's this evil guy, right? Killed all these people, conquered all these people, right? So why is he rewarded with a family and a wife? Why
because
do we care?
The thing is, we've seen
evil
this.
People can't have, so that the evil people can't like have
not
love.
When the mother's like the fucking driving force of this guy is good.
What the fuck kind of fucking? What?
It's a Broly thing. I'm telling you, it's not a discussion unless Broly has some fucking take of the century.
That's like saying a mafia boss shouldn't deserve a family, Broly. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
but usually they're complicit with all their shit. Usually the mafia's boss or the mafia's boss's wife is complicit.
What I do want to know is like given the history for the dad, like, why did the mom fall for him and accept all of that?
Exactly.
like
So
that,
look,
that
so
it was
That's
kind
what
of.
I mean.
I understood
That's
that they felt each other through their fighting, and they like were a different side of like the
Yes.
what's that one symbol that's like black and white that's used like
yin and yang.
yeah, the yin and yang, like they were kind of like a yin and yang sort of deal.
They were playing fucking Wii Sports or fucking DDR and shit.
Yeah, they started
Like,
playing
come on,
DDR.
bro.
But I don't understand. Like, why is that? That's so. Like, I'm sorry, Bradley, but that's fucking bullshit, dude. Like,
Oh,
I just
shit.
don't understand,
Oh,
like,
shit.
Like,
God's
because,
getting
like,
rowdy
dude,
in
like,
here.
Because the thing is that when you have like saying that you can't have a character have a change of heart, doesn't matter what the fuck they did before. The whole point of the story was to showcase how much love can change a person from being like a fucking heartless tyrant to a dude who wants to raise a family and get rid of that past life.
So
They
we
made
forgive
it
him, right?
very-
We forgive him.
So,
Yes,
so
we
they
forgive him,
made
right?
it. So okay, up until they make it very clear 1,000 times during the movie that he had completely changed from a tyrant to a good father who cared about his family, up until his wife died.
Right. So when
only
they
that.
married,
So you have to
he
understand.
walked
So you have
on
to
truck.
understand that we should only be like, if you're talking about if we should be able to forgive him, the forgiveness should only last through that little window of where he decided to become
Forgiveness
the
is
person.
more than saying
You understand
sorry.
what I'm saying, Bash, right? You understand
Because
what I'm saying at the end, right?
But
You
what?
understand what I'm saying? You
do you
understand what I'm saying at the end? Like what I'm saying is, it's not about he can't have wife and kids.
Yeah.
That part fine. That
Uh-huh.
part I messed up there.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, what does she see in him to forgive everything? Like, this guy's about to go and fuck up your village, and you're gonna tell me, yeah, you can be my husband, yeah, we can have kids. Like, why does that make sense? Like,
I mean,
Right.
there's
Like,
a
but
lot
my-
about
but
the
that-
mom
that-
that like. There's a lot about the mom that's kind of left unsaid or kind of just
Yeah.
very vague, and I feel like it might have something to do with like, I don't know, maybe something about her has to do with the rings, and maybe like the beacon that we see at the end is something that has to deal with his mom or something. I don't know.
It's
Uh,
Shimagora.
Super great. But yeah, like the why was she the only one on guard for every day that he showed up, or like why was like why was it just her that gave Shang-Chi like more of a attunement to the ancestor dragon thing? Like, you know, there's just a lot of things that could be fleshed out better, and all of that I do agree with.
That's all I'm saying. That's
Yeah,
all I'm saying.
but
I'm not trying
No,
to
that's
go
not how you're saying.
overboard.
That's not how
Okay.
you're saying.
I'm not trying to say.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
trying to go
not,
overboard.
That's not
all
what you're
you're
saying.
I'm not trying to go overboard. No, all I'm saying was the writing wasn't.
I got the
great.
vibe. I got the vibe. I know what you're saying.
You get the
That
vibe.
is
But
exactly
all I
not what
said
you said.
was the writing wasn't great. That's
All right.
all
Well,
I'm
here
saying.
I'm gonna take the wheel now, and we're gonna spin it. Let's just go ahead and head over to the ending and like, talk about the main plot. Since if you guys have made it this far in the video, the main plot of the movie, or at least where it ends up, is that the dad hears the voice of the wife, and she is saying, "Help me! I'm stuck behind the gate. They locked me up behind the gate at the village that I was, from." And at first it was very convincing. Like the dad was like, "Oh, look, these pendants, she left them with you guys, and why does it lead us to, I'm hearing her voice and it's leading us to her village, and here's the pathway to get there." And so you're kind of feeling a little sympathetic with the dad, and you're like, wait, if he's hearing shit, and maybe something's going on.
Right.
And then and so yeah, it was basically a kind of like, do we believe him, do we not? And then this is another part of the movie we haven't really mentioned that I didn't like too much, but we have a returning character from Iron Man 3, which is the stand-in, what was his name, Trevor?
Yeah, the Mandarin.
Yeah, the Mandarin, the stand-in actor for the Mandarin from Iron Man 3's here, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm a gesture for your dad's friends," or whatever the fuck. It was a really weird reason, and then also it was a really weird way of, a roundabout way of saying, "I need to come with you because I understand this imaginary creature that's not imaginary, but I can't see him. But I can talk to it. You guys can't. You can see them, but you don't understand it. I do, because I've been in this room with it, and I have to guide you through the forest that, you know, the creature kind of knows the way. So it's like, it's a very just random. I don't know. It was very Marvel humor. And it's like, like Disney Marvel humor.
I agree with that, because it honestly, when that scene happened, when they were like, oh yeah, I have this creature and only this creature knows how to get there. We got to go right now. Like, it just seemed like it just seemed kind of like a cop out to get the characters to be where they needed to be.
In a lot of comics, they are like that. There's a lot of cop outs that happen. Like,
of course, but if it's a movie, you could say like, oh, Katie has photographic memory, and she's like, oh, right, left, right. I remember that. You know, like something like that would have been a way for them to just go on their own and try to do it.
It's the Jar Jar, you know.
Yeah. It's just Disney, Marvel.
Like that,
yeah. We need to sell a plushie.
Here you go.
I agree with that part. And so that part came out, and I was like, it was still cute though. And so they make their way to the village. The aunt gives a whole this is where basically from where they get captured all the way to the last fight scene. This is the part of the movie that Broly was talking about earlier, where it's just like long and just nothing really happens other than just exposition and world building, which we need, but it's just long. So it's unfortunate.
It's just long, and they get to the village. I mean, the village, the CGI for the animals and for the creatures.
Oh yeah,
so cool.
Yeah, the fucking big ass like lion things that we see statues of.
That
in every
shit
fucking
was
thing.
so dope.
It was so sick.
Yeah, the action was so sick.
And I saw a comment on Twitter when I was on my phone after we got back from the movie, that someone said like because the name of the village is like Tal Ho or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, the entirety of this movie had way more personality and way more engagement than all of Asgard did from all the movies Asgard was been in. And I was like, you know what? It's kind of true. Like, we don't really.
He's kind of that's not wrong.
You're not really wrong there.
I agree, because a lot of Asgard is really just placeholder. Like,
it's just things in the background.
Shit. Yeah, it's just background shit. Like, you don't get to see the Asgardian.
But then again, the village was relatively small. The village was kind of small, and there wasn't that much to do other than, you know, train and you know, drink tea and shit. And so like you're kind of comparing like a fucking huge ass metropolis city in the sky with gods and shit to this village that's hidden away in a forest. So it's like, yeah, we can get a lot more personality because there's not as many like pieces of on the board. You know what I mean?
I can kind of sort of agree with that. I can kind of sort of agree with that, but I mean, you can find ways to make the people in the city or the city itself seem a little bit more alive than just like a background city that's just going on while like all the big stuff is happening in the forefront, right? Like, it doesn't have to be where, oh, we have to see the whole entire city in its entirety to see like, hey, what's that guy doing? What's that guy doing? Like, no, you can do some small stuff. Yeah.
I mean, you know, like the most we get is when Thor moves everybody to that fucking other place. You know, that's kind of like New Midgard. That's kind of like what we get, kind of. But,
yeah. New Midgard's kind of basically that.
But yeah, Talpo is cool. Otalo's really cool. I was telling Vaz, I was like, they did a better Mulan than Mulan did. To be honest. I mean, they did a lot of care for the culture and stuff like that.
Dude, one day we're gonna watch that Mulan movie. I just want to see it.
I don't want to watch it, dude. I don't.
But all right, so we're kind of extending our time here, which is fine. But basically, so yeah, we got this whole breakdown where the mom isn't actually behind the gate, but it is this thing called like the demon dweller or
soul sucker
dweller fucking night bat thing. Basically some crazy demon behind this wall that was put back there centuries ago, and it thrives and powers up through the souls of people that its spawn goes and collects. And the effect for sucking the soul out of somebody was fucking cool. Like as soon as we see the first bat come by and it grabs somebody, and you just see them like their arms come down, and it's just like fucking they just get their soul removed from their fucking body and they fall limp. Like the little, like just the creature itself just looked so bizarre, and like it was like familiar and like awkward at the same time. And it had like a bunch of tentacles, and it would like wrap your arms, and it would go like down your face and shit. It was insane.
I love how that scene where where the first demon grabs a hold of the dude, and like he tries to cut it, but it just doesn't die. Like it looked like it was like phasing. Like that shit looked so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Shit, like you can't fucking. And then another thing that I liked the most when you were talking about like the effects of like the soul coming out of the body. I really like just how like it's quick. Like we don't need to have a fucking 5-minute slow motion scene of the soul slowly coming out of the body and slowly going into the other person's mouth or whatever the fuck. Like
we got one of those, and it was when it mattered. The fucking when the dweller was grabbing the fucking ancient dragon, and it was like slowly bringing. I was like, God, this is fucking crazy.
That was really intense,
dude.
But yeah, so the plot goes into the dad thinks the wife is back there, and he hears the voice, and it's explained by the aunt of Shang-Chi that the dweller is preying on the mind of the dad by his deepest desires, and I don't know if it's hinted that the rings could be fatal, because she would ask like, oh, is he wearing the rings? So I don't know if the rings have like an after effect or diminishing returns or something, but that was something that they mentioned. And yeah, so the dad is convinced that the wife is back there. He's like, I know my wife's voice, I know they're holding her captive, blah blah blah. And so he ends up breaking down that wall, basically, like at least hitting it enough to where some of the creatures could get through and start the whole chaos and bring souls back to the dweller in there.
This
but
is
yeah,
the only part where I was kind of trying to connect the what if to this, because they showed mystical creatures and had it had some kind of like, oh, what are mythical creatures in the MCU, and then they showed them off. So this is kind of where I was like, maybe the what if series is trying to connect the episodes.
You can totally tell that, especially with everything that has gone on through Phase 4, including like the shows and this movie, that their villains are starting to become a little bit more like almost like Lovecraftian and like more otherworldly than just like a big purple dude. You know what I mean, or a robot AI.
Put some respect.
Or I'm not. No disrespect.
No.
But if you want to compare the enemies that we've,
it was all about the first one. Now it's all about
So I really like that. Yeah, that's why I like that, because it's like the eldritch, like fucking Lovecraftian horror type villains that we're starting to see. It's really, really fascinating to me, because I love that shit, and I think it's gonna be so dope. Like this is like, I'm telling you, Brawley, all the pieces lining up to Shumagorath, dude. I have been saying it for weeks, everybody. I've been saying it for weeks, everyone. Saying it for weeks, everyone. Watch. If it happens, I'm gonna pop off so hard. I'll pop off so hard.
But yeah, so the movie ends up playing. This is where I felt like the CGI, or at least we got such amazing and compelling action scenes throughout the whole movie, and this is where it kind of tanks, which is unfortunate because it's the climax, at least for me. I felt like the camera was super like dizzying and very. It just felt like there was so much like shaky cam, or like this like blurry sort of motion blur effect, because they were riding on the back of this dragon, but it was just so chaotic, and it was so hard to keep up with the CG effect of having these actors on this imaginary dragon. but then also jumping off of it and then running along the back of it, and at times it was great, especially when the dragons were fighting each other. It looked really cool. But whenever you involve the people around it and you have to scale them down to the size of the creatures behind them, it got really, really clumsy. But yeah, Kudio says, I watched it in IMAX theater, and I think that helped the experience part for me. Yeah, we watched it in just a regular, like, Dolby, quality that they offer. So maybe that was a thing. But at least for me, it definitely felt really, really clumsy, and I'll have to rewatch it whenever we get it on 4K and check it out here at home to see what we feel about it then.
I'm pretty sure that would definitely help, because I mean, to me, the issues that you're having seem to be more motion driven than like the actual CGI itself, because it seems you're having more of an issue when there's like the camera is moving in and out between these chaotic scenes and causing this weird motion blur effect than the actual CGI of like the enemies, the monsters, the blasts, like the energy around the rings. Like that to me was that's what I was talking about when I was saying like the CGI effects were amazing to me, because like I said, you're talking about, you have a screen where two giant dragons, like you have a giant dragon and a fucking like Lovecraftian eldritch horror demon soul sucking thing fighting each other midair, versus like, and then there's like a bunch of fucking demons flying all over the place. These people are riding on the backs of the fucking dragon. Like all of that mixed together, I can see how that would be a little bit, you know, I wouldn't want to say nauseating, right? But like a little bit like, oh god, there's like way too much going on. Like it feels like I'm watching one of those like point of view horror movies where like the camera's shaking like way too much. But like to me, I was blown away with just how all of the animals looked, how the effects looked, because going into this movie, I was afraid that those effects, especially like of the dragon and the soul sucker and all that shit, I was afraid that was going to be lacking, because I felt like Marvel was going to focus more on the martial arts aspect of the movie, and I felt like that's where all the budget was going to go. But I was proven hella wrong with the way everything looked. Like the moment that they got to, what was it, Lao Fu or whatever it's called, like the moment they got there, Kung Lao. The moment they got there, like the scenery itself just looked fucking beautiful and just fantastic, dude. Like it was
there's that one scene where the big lion things are laying on their sides, and like one of the little fucking Disney plushes, he kicks it off of its head or whatever. It just looked really, really nice. It looked really cool. Brawley looked over at me and he was just like, "Oh, this looks like that new Growlithe from the new Pokemon game that's coming out."
Oh yeah, and they had Alolan Ninetales.
Alolan, the fucking QB. But one detail we forgot to mention. So the creatures that were behind this wall or this gate, they could only be affected by dragon scale imbued like weapons. And that's why the 10 Rings people have to end up joining alongside the Tanlo people, because they have dragon scale infused like sticks and arrows and swords
shields
and all this. Shields, and we actually do get a costume change for Shang-Chi at the very end, where he gets his badass like dragon scale armor. Just like a tunic more than anything, but it looks fucking cool. And same thing with his sister. She also gets this like silver scale looking one. But yeah, so the ending fight between the dad and Shang-Chi was really well done. It starts off with Shang-Chi just kicking his ass with the pole, but then after he talks shit about like, oh, would mom even like want you anymore, he gets fucking Baja blasted into the ocean. Like, and the effect for that was fucking cool. Yeah, like I think he punches him once, and then the dad puts like all 10 rings into one arm, and he's like fucking straight into him, and it sends him all the way. Like it looked like when Goku was learning how to do a Kamehameha, and he was like parting the water with it. But instead it was just his son fucking went straight into the depths of this like lake. And I loved the entire thing about the dad and son fight towards the end. I loved that the turning point where Shang-Chi started using the rings as his own. I love that it wasn't on his arms, but it was with the wind. It's because it was a good it was like nice symbolism of like, here's my dad's rings and the weapons he used, but I'm using it in mom style. And I thought that was really, really like a nice way of showing like him finding that balance between the two parents. And it really it just comes off as like a really cool fucking like that. It was another way of using these rings that weren't just so like barbaric, I guess. It was more like fanciful, and he was like having them float around him, and he was, you know, tossing them out here and there, and he does end up putting them around his arms, but he still kind of merges the two in a way where it's his own style. And that was probably the highlight of the fight for me.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot because especially when they started fighting with, like, you know, the dad had 5 rings and he had 5, and they had like that whole scene where they're using the rings to fight each other and they get kind of like crossed and they're like holding on to each other. Like, that shit was so cool. Like, it's so dope. And I already know Brawley's gonna be like, well, why did the rings choose him? Like, I can already hear
I already said that.
I can already hear the complaint. I can already hear
It's
it.
not a complaint. No, I just wanted more information. That's all.
But okay, that's understandable that you want more information because you're like, I don't understand why the rings chose him. But let me ask you a question. Why is that important? It's already the end of the movie. Like, what would you have gained
How
if
would
you
I
knew?
know that's the end of the movie?
So my question to you is, what would you have gained if you had known how the rings chose him? Like, what would that have added to the story?
I would have understand why he's worthy now, because he was already doubting himself all the way up to that moment.
I don't know. For
But
me,
you
it
have to
feels like
understand that it has nothing to do with him being worthy because he never fought his father one-on-one before. This was the first time where he was like, oh shit, like, I'm actually fighting my fucking dad.
I don't know. For
Like,
me, it's never crossed my mind that like someone has to be worthy for the rings. It's always been like, oh, his dad's just always had them. It's like anybody could use
that's
them.
Exactly.
That's how I see it, at least. But I could be
that's how I saw
wrong.
it,
He
too.
literally put him in a box and was able to go like in trips. Like, obviously, he had to have some kind of thought process to where nobody can really fuck with him. Only I can.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he always had like the control over it. So it's like I don't think it's something where it's like a sword in the stone sort of deal where you have to be worthy to use them. I think it's more so just the fact that he has them and he's like, well, I'm not using them, but I'm gonna put them in a box and nobody else can use these. And and I think it's just more so just they're rings that can be used by anybody. It's just you know, you have to have them. I don't know if the color changing from blue to red means something. Like maybe everyone has their own element that they're more aligned with. I don't know if that's a thing, but yeah, I definitely think that the effects. Kudios pointed out here. He said, "I felt this movie was a prime example that Avatar: The Last Airbender live action or Dragon Ball could have been done really well." And I totally agree. Like especially the water bending, because you could see the rings. There was one part where the dad was like moving them into like this like wave-like motion for an attack, and I was like, dude, that would be like if that was water bending, it'd be fucking sick.
Or there was fucking airbending in the movie, dude. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
Basically airbending.
Yeah. And so at the end of the fight, Shang-Chi basically gets control of all 10 of the rings. And it was a really cool move, and it's, you know, again, just trying to bargain, trying to reason, trying to be the bigger man. He has them all, and he starts charging them up like his mom did way back when against his dad. But then he just tosses them down. And at first I got a little worried. I thought this was going to be another Disney Marvel humor where he like tried to do a cool attack and it didn't happen because he wasn't ready yet or something. But instead it was just he threw him down because like he's like, no, I don't want to do this. I want, like, you know, your family wants you around and you're my dad and blah blah. but yeah, as soon after they kind of have another talk, the demon dweller soul sucker thing behind the wall ends up showing up. He bursts through the wall because it's weak enough now, and his first victim is the dad. He gets the tentacles around him, and it was I thought it was like I don't know, it was a little funny to me because he gets grabbed and he's like, oh no, and he like puts his hand up, and then you see like the dad's head up and his soul's getting sucked or whatever, and then it goes down to Shang-Chi and he's like looking all like in distress, and then it pans back up to the dad and he's got this like stone face where he's just like looking at him and reflecting, and I'm just like, it was just such a sudden change in like tension because obviously they're having their like last moment, but I just thought it was really funny.
Yeah, I that fight to me was probably my favorite fight in the entire movie, only because of you see just there's so much character progression within the fight. The fight was amazingly choreographed. You saw way more uses of the rings. You saw, like you said, Vash, how Shang got like all the rings and he used them in a different way than his dad did. There was just so much happening during that fight that I enjoyed so much besides the actual choreography of the martial arts fights. And I feel like I honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like the way his dad went out. Like, I mean, I guess you could say that it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, karma, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you fucking get for like, being psychotic. But to me, it felt so like, man, really? Like, that's how this dude's gonna go out? Like, this dude's a fucking supposed to be like a practically a god. Like, he's gonna go out because some demon sucks his soul away in like 5 seconds. And it's like, I mean, I guess, but I mean, it's not like movie ruining or anything, or like it doesn't even really deduct points for me as far as like where I rate the movie based on like how the dad died. But I just felt like it was a little like it just came and went too fast. You know what I mean? Like even Shang didn't really have too much time to really like process that his dad is fucking dead. Like, he literally just like was like, oh shit, my dad, oh shit, I gotta go save the rest of the village, and then like he's off and it's like 10 seconds have passed and then he like turns around and sees his dad dead, and then that's about it. Like, yeah, it just that whole death kind of just happened a little bit too fast for my liking. But I mean,
I can see that
it wasn't like it didn't ruin the scene. It was just, oh man.
Yeah, I mean for me it's more so I've been seeing it more and more. People have been posting about it on Twitter with different like video games and anime and movies and stuff. But a lot of people have been kind of burned out by the moment where here's this evil character and then they do one good deed and it kind of redeems them. And you kind of get that vibe for this ending here, where he kind of just like, oh, even after all that, and after me breaking down the wall and all these people behind me getting their souls sucked, like, I'm gonna reflect and be like, you know what, I was wrong, and here are the rings. I'm gonna give them to you, son. And like, it's kind of like he gets that like peace of mind that at least he's passing it along, and instead of him just getting his his karma. You know what I mean? And so like that was something that kind of I felt from the end, from how his ending at least. But again, it wasn't like detrimental to my overall enjoyment of the movie. It was just a small thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, so the movie ends by basically the coolest fucking way of killing a dragon I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Yes.
That's true.
Dude, oh my god, that shit was so sick.
Yeah, we end up getting so the soul-sucking dweller guy, the big dragon, is fighting our dragon, the ancient one, the ancient ancestor
guardian or whatever.
Yeah, ancestor guardian dragon. Our guardian is getting his soul sucked through his fucking mouth, and the other dragon's like holding it open and like breathing it in. Think of like Hocus Pocus, where she's like fucking
Or,
like
yeah,
trying
the
to.
best. I saw I saw the one of those like spoilers without context, and one of the scenes was the Death Eaters from Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
literally-
yeah. It was like a Dementor shit.
Oh yeah, the Dementors. Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, this was another thing that was just, it's just nitpicks, and it's just the movie. You gotta let them tell the story they want to tell. But we have to really believe that of all of the skilled archers that have been there for years, or decades, or centuries, or whatever the fuck, Katie was the one that shot the arrow in the throat of the dragon. And it's like she even says it. She's like, "Oh, I started learning how to shoot an arrow 3 days ago, and I nailed it like from super far away or whatever." And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like fucking.
Okay. Can we point out? Like, well, I want to point out something. I was actually happy that happened because I'm really the one thing that I hate the most about I guess not really hate, but the one thing I dislike the most about a lot of Marvel movies is the comedic sidekick is just there for comedic effect and doesn't do anything else. And it gets really stale, and that was what I was afraid of. I was like, oh my god, like she's just gonna be here, and she's just gonna make jokes, and she's just gonna get in the way, and she's not gonna fucking do anything, and she's just gonna whatever. But they actually make her do something. They give her importance. They give her like her own moment.
I feel like Marvel's done an okay job with the comedic characters doing stuff. Like Ned, for example, has done a lot of stuff for Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not saying that like it's a it happens in all their movies, but there are definitely a lot of like characters that are there for comedic effect. And I mean, it's not just Marvel, right? It's a lot of like these action movies that are like a little bit more on the
it's like a trope.
side.
Yeah,
it's a huge trope that I'm just not a fan of because I feel like they're just there as cannon fodder, and I just don't like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why I said
cool.
at the beginning where I was like, I was really scared that she was gonna be the vice to make Shang-Chi like do stuff for his dad. I was really nervous that they were gonna use her to be the like, oh, I'm gonna hurt your friend, your American friend here. She's gonna die if you don't join my army or whatever, blah blah. And so I got a little worried there, but thankfully they didn't go that route. But yeah, so she shoots the throat of the demon dweller guy, and that's enough to kind of like off-put it to where the our ancestor dragon can get away. And then Shang-Chi does this crazy fucking move where, like, well, it was weird. Like the dragon, the ancestor dragon got away, but then it came back and started doing this like whirlpool, like water attack again, where it was like hitting it like back and forth, and then it was kind of like constraining it like once again. And then Shang-Chi like launched himself up, and then he threw all 10 rings down into like a circle into its chest, and like spun it slowly, and then like fucking just like, I don't know, it was like this shining, he was so far up in the sky, and it was like this shining beacon of a circle like coming out of this dragon's chest, and it was just like circulating, and then he hits him with the fucking Neo like you know that fucking move that he does where he puts his like hands together or whatever. Yeah, he ends it with like a big fucking push, and then yeah, it just like, I don't know, just the fucking body just, and like blood goes every. I actually saw some blood, and there was like an arm and a wing and shit, and I was like, god damn, this thing got fucked up.
That scene was really sick. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty cool to watch.
It was really cool to watch when he was like above it, and he was like floating in the sky, and then you could see him like move his hands, and you saw like the rings inside this demon thing start to like move around and like swirl around inside of him. That shit was so cool. Like, it was so dope.
Yeah, it was definitely sick. But yeah, so that's pretty much the end of that, and then they have a little ceremony for all the ones that fell during the battle. And yeah, it kind of wraps up where we have both Katie and Shang-Chi back in, I believe they were in California.
From San Francisco, yeah.
Yeah, they're in San Francisco, and they're having a drink with their friends that they were having a drink with earlier in the movie, at the beginning of the movie. And they're telling the whole story, and they're like, yeah, we killed a dragon, and there are those mystical creatures, blah, blah. And they're just like, their friends are like laughing and being like, okay, you're making fun of me, yeah, like whatever. And then, surprisingly, Wong shows up, and he's like, oh, Shang-Chi, is he here? And he's like, yeah, present. And he's like, you need to come with me, like, and you too, Katie. And that's basically how the movie ends. They walk into the portal after Wong, and we're just left to wonder what's gonna happen next. But then that leads into like the big, like this is probably some of the more like juicy post-credit scenes that we've gotten, like compared to the TV show, and then also Black Widow.
Yeah, this was pretty good.
But Goss, you kind of want to or actually, Brawl, you want to overview the credits?
So, we get the scene where Wong is asking Shang-Chi about his rings, like where are the origins and stuff, and he is discussing this with Captain Marvel, who's got her long hair back, or at least kind of like more than shoulder length. If you remember from Endgame, she had short hair, so you could tell that there's time passed. And then you see, and this didn't hit me right away, but this is that you get to see Bruce Banner, and he's in his sling, so you know his arm is still messed up. But this is actually Bruce. It didn't hit me that he was the Hulk the whole time in Endgame, and I don't know what happened, what made him go back to being Bruce.
Yeah, I swear, Hulk gets like his own movies that never get made. Like he has stories, he has stories about his progression in the MCU that we'll never fucking know. Like I don't know what the fuck. He looks older in this post credits. He looks much older. Like he has like gray hair and shit. And then he's back to human form, and his arm is still fucked up. And but then like with a time frame given, like fucking Captain Marvel grew her hair back again. So it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, Hulk gets a bad rap. I mean, he deserves better. Like honestly, he deserves way better. And so they're kind of discuss where the origins is from, and Banner says it's not, anything like it's older than he thinks it is. And he asks Captain Marvel, is it like an alien technology? And she's like, this is nothing I've seen before ever. And what they found out is that deep within the, like, I guess the makings of the ring, one of the rings is showing like a beacon, and it's calling for help, I guess, or something. It's sending a signal, but we don't know to who or where. That's where it ends the first. And I really liked that one. It was really good just to see. No, the only thing that was kind of like sucks a little bit, but I don't know. Again, with the timeline, is that Bruce kind of looks old, like a lot older than he was in Endgame for sure. It could just be Mark Ruffalo, the way he had his hair at the time, but just definitely kind of looked old. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. What do you think about it, God?
So I loved this scene. Not only because one of the things that we didn't really point out was, when Wong, after they figure out, oh, there's a beacon in it, blah 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 blah. They finally are able to. They tell Shang-Chi and Katie, like, hey, we're gonna need your help. So they're officially joining the team. I wouldn't say that they're officially Avengers or anything of the sort, but they're definitely joining the team.
It's heavily implied by Wong that your lives are gonna change and you're gonna So, but it's such a good fucking way of saying it, because he's like, why don't you go home and get some rest? You deserve it. And then they're like, yeah, we probably should. Or, and then on a dark desert highway.
And all you guys gotta know is you better know Hotel California.
Dude, the entire theater that we were in all started singing Hotel California. Like, everybody was singing, because the credits played into like them singing it. And oh my god, that fucking song, like, that was so fucking funny, seeing Wong and Shang-Chi and fucking and Katie all singing Hotel California at some random karaoke bar. Like holy shit!
I just loved how well, like, I just loved the, you know, how well Wong emphasized, like, it, because this is the start of the multiverse shit, right? Like, officially, with like outside of the TV shows on Disney Plus, and with just the Phase 4 movies by itself, this is where it starts. And if you like, knowing all the tidbits that we know from, like, you know, the shows on Disney Plus and stuff like that, you know, we are already very much aware that this is headed into a huge multiverse issue, and just how, like, really, like, how Wong drove home, like, yo, you guys are about to be in some fucking crazy shit.
Good luck.
Like, you guys don't understand that you guys are about to fucking go through some wild shit, some shit you've never experienced in your life. And I love that because it really drove home, like, guys, it's really about to get fucking nuts after this. Like, it's about to get really fucking crazy. I also want to point out, this is just a theory, and I could be reaching. I think it might be a reach, but just because of the way that, like, nobody, I mean, Captain Marvel's supposed to know a lot about, you know, the universe and where things come from and, like, the origins of shit. Banner is obviously a fucking genius, so he should know more about, like, elements and things like that, and they can't figure it out. And the fact that this thing is like a beacon for something, I feel like the rings belong to the Eternals.
Maybe, because I know in the Eternals trailer they have these circles that go into their chest.
Yeah, like, we don't really know too much about, like, the Eternals as far as, like, their weaponry and, like, how they're able to use, like, different things as weapons. So I can't really say for sure. The Eternals are definitely something that, the Eternals and Shang-Chi were definitely something that I didn't really read too much about in comic books. So I don't really know too much about them. But my theory is that the rings belonged to the Eternals. It is in the trailer for the Eternals. It is very, like, emphasized that they have come to Earth before, they helped out Earth before, and then they dipped. So from what I'm gathering is that when they came to Earth the first time to help, like, the early civilizations with, like, Egypt and shit like that, that they left the rings there, and the rings are now, like, being a beacon of, like, for the Eternals to come back to Earth. It's just a theory. I could be reaching, but with the way the Eternals are coming up, the way that, like, we've seen the trailer, their weapons are really fucking weird. We have no explanation of how they're able to, like, do the shit that they do yet. The people that are already a part of the MCU cannot figure it out with all of the things that we already know about, like, the Skrulls and Thanos and the different, like, you know, worlds that are out there, like, and they still can't figure it out yet. I feel like it's a beacon for the Eternals, but I could be wrong.
Well, I have a theory of my own. I think that the rings are for each tentacle for Shumagora. I think.
Oh, don't please don't get me home. Don't get me home,
because
dude.
Shuma has 10 tentacles.
Don't get me home. Don't get me home.
I actually think my theory is that it's from the universe of Sonic and the 7 rings from the Wii game.
Plus 3.
That plus 3, the 3 more from, you know, the different ones that he couldn't
Shadow.
find. The DLC that was scrapped.
No.
The scrapped DLC.
But yeah, I think so.
At the end of the day, I mean, why does it matter? You know, what does this all matter? You know, what is it? What
Oh my
God.
God.
Right, guys?
Bro, shut up.
I hate you, Brawley. I swear to God.
All right, it's already almost been 2 hours. So final thoughts, final verdicts. Anything else you guys want to say? I'm gonna give mine. No, I'll give mine real quick.
Well, we didn't
Straight
go
up.
over the last. We didn't go over
Why
the
are
last.
you yelling? Why are you yelling?
Okay, I'm.
We didn't go
Yeah,
over
why
the
you
last
yelling?
credit scene.
Okay, the last credit scene is
Oh yeah, the last credit scene was pretty sick. I like.
Someone remind me, I forgot.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Wait, hold on.
It's
Wow.
bitch. My fucking brain is fried from all the Brawly takes. I can't think right
Oh
now.
Hey,
my
hey,
God.
hey, where are we? Hey, so
Where are we? Hey, where are we?
Hey, yo, wait, hold on. Basically,
Okay.
it shows the sister in the room. She's taking down a lot of the posters that was in her room, and Razor Fist comes in and says, "Hey, they're ready for you, or they're here." And she's like, all right. So she goes and basically sits on the throne, and so she's now the head of the Ten Rings. She's now leading it because she had told Shang-Chi, or Shang-Chi mentioned, "Oh, my sister's, dealing with my dad's stuff. She's gonna tear it down. Don't worry, right?" But no, she's actually taking over. And this is something that I wanted to discuss. I know we're pressed for time, but they showed a lot of women fighters. And Vashan mentioned that Razor Fist says they're here. Could these women fighters be the widows that were in Black Widow, that were rescued? What do you think about that?
Yeah, because there was a lot of like women that were like, it just makes sense that the guy was like, oh, they're here, and then she's like, well, we got work to do, and then we had them all training outside.
Yeah.
So I don't know if those were the widows or not.
So,
but
I have a bigger question. So, do you guys think that she's turned heel, or do you think that it's shown that way to make you to believe she's turned heel, but she's really just like I feel like maybe a neutral force in like the whole story, right? Like maybe
I want to
not
say that
necessarily
she
like a villainess.
Yeah, she's definitely gonna be. I personally am gonna put my chips in the side that her role or her place in the world is probably gonna be on that of like what they were in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You know how what's her name, the blonde chick? You know how she was like basically in Madripoor and she was selling art and she was the one getting information and all that stuff?
Sharon Carter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sharon. So the way they were trying to portray her as this person who had intel and that was their way in. I think that's what she's gonna be. Like she's gonna be part of the like underworld, but that'll be a segue for our heroes to kind of get information or get from place to place or something like that. I feel like that might be her.
Yeah, because I don't feel like she would turn full heel. Like I feel like
after the whole village shit, I don't think
much.
so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I think she's just scorned from her father. I think she always wanted to be a leader, and she said, she had told Katie in that one scene where my dad didn't want me to be a part of his empire, so I built my own, right? So she wanted to rule in her way because she felt like she was trapped and underutilized and not cared for as a child. So like it makes sense for her character to go through this. I was betting money that Valentina was gonna show up and just recruit another member into her team or whatever. I really thought I was gonna see my boy John Walker come out, but we didn't.
That would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
I wanted to see Thunderbolt Ross as well, but no. But yeah, I thought it was a cool scene. It's just and it did have that message: the Ten Rings will return. So I don't know.
We're getting part 2. I think we're gonna get part 2.
Well, that's what I don't understand. Like I don't know if the Ten Rings mean Shang-Chi or does it mean the Ten Rings like her, crimes. That's what I don't know. But really cool to see her get some because I think out of all the characters, she was kind of like. She was really at a low point, and then they really wrote her really well toward the end. They gave her some good fight scenes. They gave her a good arc, and really liked the way they handled that character.
Cool.
Depends on how well the movie does, says Kudios.
Go watch the movie. Go watch it, please. Like everybody that's watching this, go watch the movie. They deserve to have their spotlight. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for Marvel to hire more Asian actors, and there's so many good ones, and it's a good way for them to get a spotlight, and they did very well. This is not just another Chinese fighting movie. This has a really good story. The settings are really good. The characters are all really, really well done, except for the dad, but whatever. And so
whatever.
I really. Okay.
The Broly take, he strikes again.
This is not my
last second.
This is not my worst take. Okay, my worst take.
It's actually
the worst one was Falcon Winter Soldier. That was the worst.
John Walker was that triggering mode. Like,
I was like, end the stream. I'm about to. about to go off.
Yo,
But,
I wanted to touch point on something Brawley said also, how people were complaining that there wasn't enough Asian actors in Marvel movies. What I'm hoping for is that if this movie does really well and they do end up doing a sequel to this movie, that we actually start to get maybe some like prominent like martial arts actors, like maybe some Donnie Yen. Like that would be fucking sick. Like having Donnie Yen show up and fucking like Shang-Chi 2 as like maybe a villain or something. Like that'd be fucking cool.
Honestly, I think I might.
He's
I might,
It Man.
No, I know, but wasn't he in something? I mean, I know he was.
He was in Star Wars.
Yeah, he was in Star Wars, but I thought he was in something else in Marvel. But I guess.
But honestly, the thing that I look forward to the most whenever when we got a movie like this, I don't know anything about Shang-Chi until I watch this movie, and now I'm a fan. What I love, I've always had a huge, like, love for the idea of having characters interact with each other from different, like, stories. I just think it, like, if I were to get Shang-Chi interacting with, like, War Machine, you know, like, I just want to see that happen. I want to see Captain Marvel talking to a raccoon, you know, stuff like that. And so, I'm just so glad that we get more Marvel characters, and we're gonna get even more, like, it's so weird. We'll get into Eternals whenever we watch it, but there's something about the trailer for Eternals that make it feel like it's not a Marvel movie, but we know that it is. You know, it's so, I don't know.
I feel like it's hiding something.
Yeah, there's something about it that's
from that
just like
trailer.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to act like it's like its own thing, or like they're just telling their story over here. But again, like all those characters that are being introduced, like I can't wait to see them interact with like Star-Lord or with Thor or somebody. So it's like, and we don't know if that's ever gonna happen, but it's, you know, it would be cool.
That's why I like the what if search. I think that gives you a chance to do that without them physically being there.
Yeah.
Now, if you care about them physically being there, then that's one thing. But I feel like I don't feel disappointed if I'm hearing Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange talking to people, you know, that are not from his movie. Like I don't really mind if it's an animated one, because we're still getting these.
Yeah. I don't mind that either. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like having T'Challa talk to like Nebula was like really interesting, you know.
Right.
But
all right, so what's the rating on this? What do you guys give this movie?
I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's solid. It's really enjoyable. Great. Everything was awesome except for points here and there that could have been better. And then, you know, the chaoticness, at least for me personally, with the last scene, it knocks it down a couple of points for me. But I do still stand by, like, out of everything that we've gotten from the MCU in Phase 4, obviously this is a movie, so it's like easier to go to it. Because if I'm being honest, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was awesome. I fucking loved it. But I think this one's probably the best thing that we've gotten out of Phase 4. So I really liked it.
Okay. What about you, Don?
I definitely am going to give this a 9 out of 10. I think this movie was fantastic. You know, I have my own, you know, all three of us have our own personal takes on the movie, right? So we all have different things that, like, you know, affect us in different ways and stuff like that. I always want to, you know, make sure we point that out, that, you know, you can't really have a discussion if everybody has the same exact feelings towards the movie, stuff like that. But I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot. A lot of the things that I could see being wrong with the movie were, honestly, they were very minute and swept under the rug just by how beautiful, how well acted, how amazing the choreography was. All of the, you know, the stunts, the special effects, the CGI, you know, the lighthearted humor, you know, the progression of the characters. You know, all of that was just done so well, and it all came together so amazing. I mean, like, this is the first time where I watched something Marvel related, and I went out of it and I wasn't like, man, you know what? There was a big pacing issue here at this point. Like, I didn't feel rushed at all this entire movie, or felt like, oh, there's maybe a little bit too much information here or there. It felt totally fine for me. And I really, really enjoyed this movie. I think if you're a fan of Marvel, and you know, even if you're barely starting to get into Marvel, or you don't really like Marvel's continuity too much, and you just kind of like want to see like an action-packed like superhero movie, this is definitely something you should check out. So it's a definitely 9 out of 10 for me.
Sweet. And Brawley?
Cool. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I thought the movie was enjoyable. I like scenes. Definitely had a lot of favorite scenes. Definitely want to watch this again when it comes out. The characters were all really cool. Really like Katie as a character, just for the reasons like Vash says, that she was fun, but she also seemed important, even if it was kind of like an asshole. I'd rather her have some kind of value to the story than just be there for comedic reasons. I really enjoyed Shang-Chi. I thought that he kind of suffered a little bit with some. I think my issue was the dancing of the flashbacks. I never like it when movies keep going to flashbacks and then coming back and going and coming back just to prove a point or to hide some part of the story. I don't really like that. I wish it was kind of like one and done, where like you have your flashback and
Your
flash
kick.
kick.
Yeah, your flash kick.
Yeah. Oh, it's because Shang-Chi's mom's Rashid, but whatever. But I did like the fight. We didn't even talk about the fight scene between Shang-Chi's dad and mom. That fight was sick, dude.
You know what that fight was very reminiscent of to me, and it gets so much crap. Like everybody hates this, like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type movies where it's like just martial arts where they're like flying in the air and jumping through trees. Like I find that shit so sick.
Right, yeah.
It felt.
It really shows with like the fluttering of their feet when they like fly back, like whenever they like kick and then they kind of like use the wind to like move backwards. That's where like it really shows that kind of like.
If you guys ever seen the movie Hero with Jet Li, that movie's fantastic. It definitely also has a lot of that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon effects with the martial arts, and it felt right at home with that fight. Like right at home. I was like, this fight could have belonged in one of those movies. Like,
dude, what's that one Jet Li movie called? It's called like The One. I need to watch that one again. That's too good.
Oh, that one's sick.
I don't know. It's one of the dude. I thought the movie Spawn was sick, but me, Brawley, Fro, and Solara, we all watched it recently, and I was like, man, this movie fucking sucks. Dude, all of my upbringing, I was like, man, Spawn was so sick. I fucking love Spawn. We watched it recently, and I was like, man, this movie fucking sucks balls. I was like, what the fuck happened?
Fucking carries that movie.
Yeah. John, he fucking carried that shit.
I watched that movie like a year ago, and I still love that movie, dude.
No, don't get me wrong. I love it, but it's like it's bad.
It is bad.
It's definitely bad. Like it's definitely bad. But I am definitely one of those fans of like, really shitty like B movies that are like supposed to be terribly bad on purpose, but they're just so fucking good. So like Spawn kind of falls in that realm a little bit, and I love that movie.
That's why like if
John Leguizamo kills it.
If we're sitting here being like, oh yeah, that movie The One is good, and we go back and it's like, I don't know, I probably watched it and think
you can see fight scenes and you can just watch fight scenes, you'll be like, okay, this is it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I like I said, the movie I think was good, and it's good enough. I would enjoy another part of it. I think it, like I said, it had some pacing issues, especially in the middle of the movie. But other than that, it was really good. 7 out of 10 for me.
Cool. All right, everybody. Well, if you made it this far in the video, I really, really appreciate you. I know we ramble, and I actually, for me, obviously I take notes and I try to watch other people who review stuff and who have discussions, and they kind of treat it as like, hey, let me review the movie and give you, my critique of it. But I think I've come to enjoy that. For us, it's literally like more podcast discussion. It's like more of like a holistic style of looking at the entirety of the movie rather than just like, oh, did it make me feel something? Did the characters have good motivation? Like, no, it's like, let's just talk about the fucking movie,
and that's the thing too, because it makes things for me, when we go, even if like the discussion is long, I mean, obviously we just finished watching like a 2 hour long fucking movie, right? So that's like having a discussion of like 4 different episodes of fucking What If all at the same time. So of course we're gonna like the conversation is going to be long, right? But it makes things more authentic, right? Because there's no formulaic thing that we have to follow every time we have this discussion. It's literally just all 3 of us giving our opinions and talking about something that we all 3 enjoy.
The only formulaic thing that we've got is a bad take from Broly. That's in every video.
I'm sorry, this is not a bad take. This is actually a well-driven, thought-out take that I had.
A well-driven, thought-out.
You felt. You were agreeing with me, motherfucker. So I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, everybody. Well, that's it for us.
At all.
Like I said, if you made it this far, thank you. The next thing we're probably gonna talk about again is Invincible. It's gonna happen eventually.
Right now, we're never gonna do it. We're never gonna do it.
We're gonna talk about Invincible next. It's gonna happen.
Let's talk about it right now.
Never gonna do it. You know what, dude? It's been, no, wait. It's been so long that we've decided to talk about Invincible that I need to rewatch it because I'm already forgetting shit. Like I'm gonna have to go and rewatch it now.
Blame Bash, dude.
Because it's not fresh in my mind anymore. Like
all right, but besides Invincible,
was like 3 months ago.
We have to tell you a funny story. We have to tell you a funny story after this. It's hilarious.
Besides Invincible, we've got the next What If coming up. Eternals is coming up, and obviously like Spider-Man and stuff. But actually, I think I saw on Disney Plus they have that Mandarin one-shot thing. I don't think we're gonna talk about it, but I'll watch it. I don't know what it's about.
Yeah,
but
I don't really, not really too interested in it, to be honest.
Yeah, but all right, guys, that's it for us. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, y'all take care. Bye bye.
Peace.